Hello, everyone. I'm Gustavo Tolosa, and I am the host of this online book club in which we read books that have to do with nutrition and health, and they are always books that talk about the power that whole food, plant-based diets have. And we support each other, we learn from each other, we chat here in the chat, and we read books. So thank you for joining. It's always wonderful to be here, and I really mean it because this is a live webinar, and I feel very connected to all of you who are logging in. And please feel free to write comments or questions as we go on. So just a few announcements before we get started with chapter 4. This coming Sunday, I am doing another episode of the Pianist and the Chef. This Sunday is April 25th, 2021. And only that this time it's not going to be called The Pianist and the Chef. It's going to be called The Priest, the Pianist, and the Chef, because we have an Italian priest who is going to show us how to make a heavenly Italian, creamy Italian risotto that will be totally plant-based and oil-free. And besides that, this person is my best friend from high school, whom I haven't seen in probably 25 years. And so you will be able to see and meet this special person in my life. This is this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, or 4 p.m. Central, or 5 p.m. Eastern. And I will put the link here and for you to see it. If you're watching this on YouTube, all of these links that I talk about during the webinar, they're always down here in the description area of the video, so make sure you go there. If you're watching this on YouTube, or even now, whenever, and you have not subscribed to my channel, of course, that's free, and you have not clicked on the little bell, that's very important, please do so. It helps me so much to maintain these webinars going. I don't have millions of subscribers, so it's not much, but it's a little bit of help that I really appreciate it. Also, if you go to the website, plantemus.com, plant, PLANTEMUS.com, you can register to be in my email list, and you can also go to the English side of the site and look for all the videos that I have there. And if you have a Facebook account, please follow me there. My page is Dr. Starch. It's spelled out, Dr. all spelled out, Starch. And I put quite a lot of important content there. And last but not least, I also have a Patreon account. If you're one of those persons that would like to support me in some way on a monthly basis, even if it's $5 or $50 or $5,000 or whatever, I do have a account, and all of these links are going to be in the description area. So that's enough of announcements. And now today we are reading one of the key chapters in the book. And before we start, let me remind you that anytime that you want to make a change in your diet, it's important that you are under the care of a medical doctor. it would be best if it was a whole food, plant-based doctor. But even if it's not, you need to be, especially if you have type 2 diabetes, even type 1, and you're going to follow Dr. Neal Barnard's program, or even, any other whole food, plant-based, really. The changes are quite sudden. They could be within 24 hours that you will see your blood sugar levels leveling and going down, and you can get hurt if your blood sugar drops too low and you just fall on the floor or on your oatmeal bowl, like Dr. McDougall says. You need to have those medications adjusted as you go on. So I personally am not a medical doctor. I'm a doctor in music, but we are reading this book, and it is important that people watching this know that. Okay, so very important chapter. They all are, but a powerful new menu is the title of this chapter, which in my version, in my edition, which is a revised edition, is page 41, but it's chapter 4. So for type 2 diabetes, our goal is to clean the gum out of the locks. That's the second paragraph. And I think the second paragraph here on page 41 and chapter 4 is pretty much the whole book is in a nutshell, is in one paragraph. Very important. I would underline it. I would highlight it. I would learn it by memory, because this is key to everything that we're talking about. So if you're joining us now and you have not listened to the last 3 sessions, you may wonder, what is clean the gum out of the locks? Well, go back and see the other sessions, but here it is explained by Dr. Barnard himself. The fundamental problem in type 2 diabetes appears to be the accumulation of tiny amounts of fat inside muscle cells. So when someone says that their problem is sugar or carbohydrates, you know that they have old information and mistaken. The problem really with type 2 diabetes is that there is an accumulation of tiny amounts of fat inside muscle cells. They make it hard for insulin to do its job by blocking what is called insulin signaling. That fat that is inside the cell makes it difficult for insulin to open the door, get in the membrane, so the glucose can go in the cell, give it energy, which is what keeps us going minute by minute every day. So where does that glucose go if it cannot go inside the cell? In the blood. And that's why, a diabetic can check their blood and the glucose levels are high, because it's not going where it needs to go. So that is, they interfere with the process by which insulin opens the cell membrane to allow glucose to enter. You need to select foods that will reverse this process. It's that simple. It's that simple. You can reverse this process of all these locks that are gummed up and are not working by just selecting different foods, and you can reverse this problem. A diet revamp can also help protect your body from the disease process. That is crucial for both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So, at the bottom of the page, it says, there are no limits on portion, calories, or carbohydrates. You will focus on what you eat. So, how much you eat generally takes care of itself, but we are getting ahead of ourselves. So now I'm on page 42, And it says, let's first look at the menu changes that make the diet so effective. To reverse the course of diabetes, okay, this is the second paragraph on page 42. Listen carefully. To reverse, it doesn't say to control or to live with it. To reverse the course of diabetes, clean the gum out of the locks and allow the heart and blood vessels the best chance of reversing any existing blockages. There are 3 guidelines. And here I'm going to pause to read them slowly, because if there's anything that we should memorize now is these 3. It's so simple. It's so simple. It's almost, I mean, it causes me despair, literally, to know that I know so many people with diabetes and that they don't want to hear 3 things that are simple. Now, simple doesn't equate with easy, but simple. And you have to want to do it. You have to want to stop taking those pills and injecting any glucose in your insulin in your body. You have to want to do it. But there's only 3 things, and here they are, written very clearly by Dr. Neal Barnard. Number 1, set aside animal products. And it's not some, it's all. And I know it could be overwhelming to people that eat large amounts of animal products, because they may wonder, well, if I don't eat them, what is there to eat in this world? Well, in a few pages today and next week, you will learn that there are more things than you can possibly imagine and want. And they're, I promise, way more delicious than a piece of meat with muscles and veins and blood and no fiber and no water and very nutrients and loaded with cholesterol and protein that damages your kidneys and many other acids and things that you do not want. So number 1, set aside animal products. Number 2, keep vegetable oils to a minimum. And if you really want to make a difference, you will say avoid totally, completely, 100% vegetable oils. But he says keep vegetable oils to a minimum. Number 3, favor foods with a low glycemic index. Those are the 3 things. Let's say it one more time. Set aside the animal products, limit a lot vegetable oils, and try to select foods always from the plant world. Select foods with a low glycemic index. So now we're going to go through them and explain in more detail. There's no need to panic, Dr. Barnard says. I know this sounds like a tall order. I am going to walk you through each step to show you the whys and the hows. Soon, it will be a second nature. For now, I just want you to understand the principles. So now we'll understand the principles. It is true that then it becomes second nature. Now I open the refrigerator, you give me 3 ingredients and I whip up a meal, but it's second nature because I've been doing this for 7 years and I've been reading and learning all the time. So do you need to be a chef? No, you don't. Do you need to have a lot of time to cook? No, you don't. So number 1, set aside animal products. There are 2 possible sources of fat in the diet: animal products and vegetable oils. Those are the only major sources of fat. We say major because everything, just about every fruit and vegetable and legume and everything, has minimal amounts of fat, with vegetable fat, that they're traces, and that's all that our body needs. But this guideline tackles the first one of these, the animal fat. Needless to say, if you're not eating beef, you're not going to have beef fat in your body. If you're not eating chicken, you're not going to have chicken fat in your blood. Following this guideline means purging the animal fat from your diet. The program you are about to start omits meat, dairy products, and eggs. Everything that comes from an animal. So it says people following a vegan diet had 31% less intracellular fat compared with those people on a regular diet. This was shown in previous chapters in studies that they have made. That means improved insulin sensitivity. That is a great start, and the next guidelines are designed to carry you further. When you get aside animal products, you also get, you also get the another benefit. Since animal products are the only source of cholesterol in the diet, leaving them off your plate also eliminates all the cholesterol from your diet. As your cells reclaim their health, the rest of your body does too. Instead of eggs and bacon for breakfast, you might have a big bowl of old-fashioned oatmeal with cinnamon and blueberries, half a cantaloupe, and some rye toast. Perhaps you might add some veggie sausage or veggie bacon. For lunch, instead of, say, meat chili, you might have veggie chili or hearty lentil soup. If you generally go for a burger, you might choose a veggie burger. If you have dinner at an Italian restaurant, you might have spaghetti with tomato sauce, wild mushrooms, artichoke hearts, and fresh basil. At a Mexican restaurant, you would skip the meat taco in favor of a bean burrito, hold the cheese, or veggie fajitas. At a Chinese restaurant, you could have your pick of the many vegetable dishes on a bed of rice. At this point, you might be thinking, spaghetti, rice? Am I allowed to have these carbohydrate-rich foods? The answer is yes. Now, I know that people with diabetes have heard over and over that they must limit rice and pasta and other starchy foods. But keep in mind that diabetes and overweight has been rare in countries that have made these foods their staples. The plan does have guidelines about carbohydrates, but they relate mainly to which ones are the best choices, not how much you put on your plate. So on page 44, the second paragraph, it says, I can understand omitting beef, you might say, but why eliminate chicken and fish? Well, the nutritional makeup of these foods may surprise you. They have significant amounts of fat and cholesterol, and they lack the fiber and healthy carbohydrates you need. So there is a chart here, and I'm going to put it there so you can see it. And it should be eye-opening to see this. So what a difference, okay? Fat. and cholesterol. For example, they take salmon, supposedly, healthy fish, is 40% of the calories, almost half. So you take a piece of salmon, you cut it in half, and you're eating fat for half of it. Cholesterol, 71 grams of cholesterol. What about beef? Most of the beef actually has less fat, only 33% instead of 40, and it has more cholesterol. It has 86 milligrams. Chicken has 85 milligrams of cholesterol, so it's the same as if you ate beef. What about the percentage of calories from fat? 23, so that's the lowest. So in contrast, you have beans, which have beans, broccoli, lentils, oranges, rice, brown rice, apples. All of those have zero cholesterol. And what about the percentage of calories? Very low, 3%, 4%, 7%. Broccoli has 11%. We mainly, in this way of eating, we want to keep the fat intake to 10% of the total calories of the day. If it goes a little over, it's okay. Some doctors here, don't freak out when you see doctors. I have interviewed many of them. I have worked with many of them. They all say the same thing. Don't get all crazy when you hear one doctor say one thing and one doctor say another thing. They mostly agree on 98% of everything. They do have some differences. So some doctors will say the ideal is 10% of the calories will come from fat, not animal fat, just fat. Everything has fat. Oatmeal has fat, broccoli has fat, apples have fat, bananas have fat, rice have fat, everything has fat. So keep it to 10%. And the interesting thing is that in the vegetable world, it's as if it was divinely designed so that everything is around, it averages 10%, which should give us a clue. Yes, there are things that have more. So that's why some doctors say you can go up to 20%. But most Americans and most people that follow a meat-based diet are eating way more than even 30% of their calories from fat, and it actually comes from animal fat. So fish vary depending on what kind of fish you're eating, but all fish have fat, and much of it, between 15 and 30%, is saturated fat. All fish have cholesterol too. Some, such as shrimp and lobster, are much higher in cholesterol, 1 ounce for ounce, than steak. So, some people eat fish precisely because it has fat in it, because they have bought the advertising that they have seen on TV, on magazines, and even that has reached the doctor's office, in which it says that a portion of the fat in fish is in the omega-3 form, and omega-3 is very important, so you should eat fish. It is important, but you don't have to eat fish to get it. Fish does not make omega-3. It doesn't. It just gets it from the algae, from the plants that the fish eat in the ocean. So omega-3 fats are reputed to block the formation of blood clots that could lead to heart attacks. Scientific evidence has not been supportive to this, to what I just read. They do not reduce the likelihood of a heart attack or stroke or reduce the risk of dying. And if you're reading on page 45, the second paragraph, there you have listed the studies that show that. Could the supposed benefit of omega-3s be just a fishy story? Well, it is important to remember that fish fats are mixtures, just as all fats are. Fish oils do indeed contain some omega-3 fat, but they also contain plenty of saturated fat. As noted above, from 15 to 30% of the fat in fish is plain old saturated fat. And remember that the main problem in diabetes type 2 is that fat that gets inside the cell and it gums up the lock. The insulin cannot open the door so that the glucose will go in because it's all gummed up with all that fat, animal fat. So it says here, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. In 2009, the American Diabetes Association, we're not talking about anything. We're talking about the American Diabetes Association, reported in its journal that people who regularly ate fish but no other meats had a 4.8% prevalence of diabetes, compared to 3.2% for lacto-ovo-vegetarians, which are the vegetarians who eat eggs, and 2.9% for vegans. Look at the difference from 4.8 who ate fish to 2.9 for vegans. In other words, having fish in your diet does not help. It actually increases diabetes risk. Similarly, Harvard researchers found that people who ate the most fish had a 24% higher risk of developing diabetes compared with those who generally avoided fish, and the study is listed here. So, what do you do what do you say to a person when discussing whole food plant-based meals and they say, well, whole food plant-based meal is not for me? Well, maybe it's not for them. Remember that as much as we would like to help every single person in this planet, which is what I would like to do, we cannot, because they have to want to. They have to be open to learning. And there are times, I have to say, that at one time in my life, I was not open to learning. If someone had given me this information, I might have brushed it off as, oh no, that I can't do that. It's not for me. So unfortunately, sometimes the only way that someone is going to listen is if they are in real danger. And sometimes we have to get to that point to be interested in learning. What I say is, if it's someone that you know, a friend, a family member, 99, I would say this, I just pulled out this number from nowhere, but I'm trying to say most of the times, they're not going to listen to you because you have no credibility with friends and family in general, especially when you're talking about food. I think that food and religion, maybe politics, but food is a very touchy topic because it's very personal, and people don't like to hear bad news about the foods that they love. They don't want to hear that. So the best thing that you can do is point them to some expert. Say, if you're really interested in reversing your condition, whatever it may be heart health, it may be diabetes, it may be cancer, why don't you read this book? Maybe the most you could do is actually give the book to them as a gift or lend it. or just tell them about the book and see if they buy it, or send them to a video like this, or to any other video, or to a website. But the person has to take that first step, because if not, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, so is it discouraging? Yes, it is. Do you get used to it? No, you don't. But with time, you get used to saying, well, next. And whoever wants to hear the information, here I have it. Okay. Also, sometimes people are more interested or more open to hearing the information if they see a change in you. At the beginning, when I switched 7 years ago and I lost, 70 pounds, I didn't have to say anything. Everybody wanted to know what I was doing. Not everybody was genuinely interested. They were just asking to be curious, but some were, and some listened, and those people are following now a plant-based diet, and they're doing very well. All right, so on page 46, now you will notice that when you avoid animal products, your diet is not just free of animal fat. What else do you minimize considerably when you don't eat animal products? What else? Let's see if you would like to type it. When you don't eat any animal products, you don't have animal fat in your diet anymore, and you don't have something else that will damage your kidneys. What is it? Protein. Protein in large amounts, it's damaging to the human body, because the human body was not designed to receive large amounts of protein on a daily basis. Yes, in the old times, well, not even that old, but I mean, let's just go back to prehistoric times, or to many, many 100 years ago, when there were no supermarkets and refrigerators and convenience stores and restaurants, and you could get your hands on meat every once in a while. Okay, fine. But nowadays, when people are eating animal fat in many different forms every day, several times a day, the amount of protein ingested is very damaging to the kidneys, because they have to work extra hard to eliminate it. So that is important, because animal protein can harm the kidneys. On page 46, third paragraph, and protecting them is a key goal. Protein from plant sources is the way to go. Protein from plants is much less, is a different type, and it does not seem to have any kind of negative effects in the kidneys. It is very sad that some doctors are still pushing high protein diets. I can see why. There is great amounts of advertising in magazines and even in, I guess, in medical journals in some way, in the television, in shows, everywhere you look, high protein. You might want to read the book Proteinaholic, which is a wonderful book by Dr. Garth Davis. So on page 48, we have the power plate, which is very simple, and it's right here. What is the power plate? Well, it's a visual aid that will help you remember what you need to eat on a daily basis. The idea is simple. Build your diet from 4 healthy staples: whole grains, legumes, vegetables, and those include starchy vegetables and non-starchy vegetables, and fruits. On your plate, these simple ingredients might translate into a hearty sweet potato chowder, spinach lasagna, Cuban black bean and Spanish rice, lentil and carrot soup, and endless other possibilities. And of course, in this book, you have recipes at the end. In my YouTube channel, you have many free videos with recipes. In my Facebook page, you have recipes. You have whole food, plant-based recipes all over the place. And in all the other books that we have read together. Okay, so the whole grain group. This group includes brown rice, oats, barley, corn, and all the products that are made from whole grain. For example, breads, cereals, pasta, and many others. In countries where grains are staples, diabetes is much less common than it is in North America and Europe. This should be no surprise. Whole grains are filling but have very little fat and no cholesterol. When selecting grains, let the glycemic index guide you to the best choices. Later on, Dr. Barnard gives you a website where you can go and check the glycemic index. Don't get too obsessed with glycemic index because, sometimes something like a pizza might have a lower glycemic index than, let's say, a banana. So, and it's obviously you want the banana and not the pizza. So be very careful. When he's talking about glycemic index choices, it's always within the group of whole food plant-based. No, don't cross over to the animal group. Okay. So what about the legume group? Well, this category includes beans, peas, and lentils. It also includes the endless array of soy products, from veggie burgers to meatless hot dogs, tofu, tempeh, miso, and every conceivable kind of deli slice. Legumes are hearty, high-protein foods with a remarkably low GI. They are rich in calcium, iron, and cholesterol-lowering soluble fiber. Listen to that. Cholesterol-lowering soluble fiber. Yes, fiber, the fiber that you eat in all of the plant-based foods, will help lower cholesterol. Whether you favor a chickpea salad, black bean chili, or a soy-based veggie burger or other meat substitute, legumes are handy and healthy. But let me say a but here. If you're buying veggie burgers or any other substitute for a meat product, make sure you read the label, because many times the amount of oils and fats in these products are not conducive to what you want to achieve. The best thing, of course, is to make your own veggie burgers. They're not difficult. And the good thing is that you can make a huge batch and freeze them for weeks and months to come. There are many veggie burger recipes, and you can find them in my Facebook page, or I could, send you some recipes if you let me know that you would like some. So let's keep going on page 49. Researchers at the University of Toronto confirm that people who include a serving of beans, chickpeas, lentils, or peas in their daily routine are indeed thinner and have lower levels of LDL or bad cholesterol. This study confirms another study that was done by the US government's National Nutrition and Health Examination Survey. So if you're new to bean dishes, go easy at first. Yes, keep portions modest, maybe a cup, and cook them thoroughly. They are likely to cause some gasiness until your digestive tract adapts. Yes. So don't go now and eat beans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Beans have high levels of protein. It's the only thing that we generally say to be careful. Have other things, have rice, have sweet potatoes, have other forms of starch, but don't just focus on beans because they are considerably high in protein. It's not animal protein, but it's still high. All right, so the vegetable group. So you have the green vegetables. Those are, well, anything green, are packed with iron and, except for spinach, high in absorbable calcium. Then you have the orange vegetables like carrots, yams, and butternut squash, among others, and they're loaded with beta carotene, a cancer fighter. So be generous with them, generous. Eat a lot of orange vegetables because if you want to fight cancer, those are the vegetables that you want to include as often as possible. One of my favorite combinations, Dr. Barnard says, is orange plus green, as in mashed butternut squash and broccoli. Sometimes I cook them up fresh, and other times I simply use frozen. The colors contrast, as does the sweetness of the squash with the heartier flavor of the broccoli. You do not have to be a gourmet chef. Even the most hurried person has time to open a package of frozen vegetables and steam or microwave them. This is on page 50. And on page 50, there is a warning right here for grapefruit. So of all the fruits that you can eat, watch out for grapefruit if you're taking medication, because grapefruit can interfere with absorption. So you want to ask your doctor. Usually your doctor will tell you to not have grapes and with some medications. But if you want to make sure, ask. Grapefruit interferes with some medications, especially with some, not all, some cholesterol medications. It almost doubles the amount that goes in your bloodstream. So please check, okay? Or to be on the safe side, don't have grapefruits until you can get off medication. Okay. Virtually all have healthy low GIs or glycemic index. The main exception is baking potatoes, so favor sweet potatoes instead. So baked potatoes. I don't know if he means if I steam a potato or if I make mashed potatoes. I don't know. It says baked here. Now I have to put a bracket here because that most of the work that I have done has been for years with Dr. McDougall, and I have personally witnessed that many diabetics, improve almost overnight in the living programs, and they ate plenty of potatoes. So these are the difference that I was talking about earlier. Some doctors may say, don't, limit this or be careful with this and don't eat this, and others won't. Well, that's when you want to maybe exclude that group or that, like potatoes, like it says here, and see what happens. Then you might want to introduce potatoes little by little and see what happens. You might want to go to my YouTube channel and watch 2 or 3 videos that I did with Dr. McDougall about diabetes. You might want to go to his website, drmcdougall.com, and in the search button, put diabetes and potatoes or something like this, and you will see what he writes. So someone here is writing a comment that says, you are absolutely correct. When I started, I thought a little is good, so more is better. Big mistake. I had to cut back and gradually increase as I became more educated in whole food, plant-based food. Okay, so the fruit group. Many people with diabetes imagine that because fruits are sweet, they will raise blood sugar. The fact is, though, that nearly all fruits, apples, bananas, blueberries, cherries, clementines, oranges, peaches, pears, and most others have very low glycemic index. So for a simple and beautiful dessert, combine blueberries with chopped mango, papaya, or banana. You'll think of many other great combinations. How many servings should you have from each group? You can vary your serving sizes as much as you like. But remember that number of servings and serving sizes are not the concern when you are following a 100% whole food, plant-based diet with zero animal products. It goes without saying that the recommended foods do not include meat, dairy products, eggs, or greasy fried foods. Other permitted foods. Well, what are some of the other foods that you can have? Fat-free salad dressings and other fat-free condiments. Coffee with fat-free non-dairy creamer if desired. Occasionally, alcoholic beverages. Rarely, sugar, nuts, seeds, dark chocolate made without milk. Full-fat soy products such as tofu, tempeh, soy cheese, etc. Foods to avoid. I might say that out of all of those that I just read, the only one that I have occasionally is coffee. The other ones I don't. Oh, I do have dark chocolate made without milk. Again, occasionally. I don't keep it in the house. Foods to avoid: meats, poultry, fish, eggs. Yes, the white, because they have huge amounts of protein, and the yolks because they have huge amount of cholesterol. Of course, the egg has to make nothing, a chicken has to grow from nothing. So it has everything that a being needs to be created. So all dairy products, regular and fat-free, including milk, yogurt, cheese, ice cream, cream, sour cream, butter, etc. Added oils such as margarine, salad dressings, mayonnaise, cooking oils. These are things to avoid. Fried foods such as potato chips, French fries, onion rings, donuts. You can make onion rings. You can make fries in the oven, crunchy. I have made some that people thought they were fried and they were not. So you just have to learn how to make them. They're not difficult. Avocados, olives, and peanut butter are also foods to avoid because they are very high in fat, even though they're not animal fat. And foods to avoid: any food with high glycemic index, such as white bread or white potatoes. So then he goes on to talk about vitamin B12 and vitamin D, which is really not a vitamin, but a hormone. And that's where we will start next time. And someone is saying the easiest way to avoid these foods is to gut your pantry and restock with the right foods. And you could not be any more correct. And I remember the first time that I attended the 10-day Live-In McDougall program, where they teach you everything you need to know of what to do, how to do it, when to do it, everything. And I remember coming home and literally going and out the house. Unfortunately, some things went in the trash, and some things I gave them to people that I don't like. No, just kidding. You know, I don't know what you want to do with them, but you've got to get rid of all of them, because, like Chef AJ says, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. If I have dark chocolate in my house, it's not going to end up in that drawer over there. It's going to end up in this drawer. Okay. If I have bread, we'll talk more about what kind of breads you could have. If I had scones, for example, or if I had jam, they are foods that would end up in my mouth. Okay, so they're not here. If I have a piece of rye toast with a little bit of jam, that's because I went to a coffee shop and I had a cup of tea with 2 slices of rye roast toast and some jam, but not because I have it here, because I know that I don't have control. Now, I have control over nuts and seeds, so I could have them here all day long, and I could not touch one for weeks or months or years. And so, of course, they're not in my house because I don't care for them. But if that is your weakness in life, those have to be out of your house. Give this program 2-3 weeks. Give it a chance to prove that it is powerful, and it is powerful fast. But you have to follow those 3 guidelines to the T. All right. Please pass on this information to others, and I will see you next week. Or hopefully I will see you on Sunday. If you can't watch live, don't worry. You can still register. You can still have access to the video permanently and the PDF with the written recipe. And you can watch it at your convenience. So I'll see you on Sunday, or I will see you next week for our regular book club, and we will finish chapter 4. Everybody, have fun and be careful and be compliant, and I'll see you soon.